attachment insecurity is simply an amplification of the human condition. Those are two sides of the same coin of insecurity. It's a memory of what happens when I depend on somebody. But eventually I find out, hopefully, that it's me. People are difficult. Now we have to find where we agree and where we're the same and get along and work collaboratively and cooperatively, or we don't work. Unfortunately, love is not enough. Feelings and emotions will not save the day in the long run. Only purpose does.
What do you see that the happiest long-term couples do?
And those two important things.
Hi, beloveds, and welcome to This Tantric Life. I'm your host, Layla Martin, and I'm so excited to share this conversation with Dr. Stan Tatkin today. He is a doctorate in psychology. He is a marriage and family therapist, and he is also a clinician, an author, a researcher, and an assistant clinical professor at UCLA at the Geffen School of Medicine. One of the reasons I got into his work and use it in the VITA coaching program to educate coaches on how to have the best possible relationships is because he has developed the psychobiological approach to couples therapy called PACT. And he uses attachment theory to be able to understand how, whether you're anxious or avoidant or disorganized or secure, how you can use your style of coping or how you learned to relate to others as a child and to be able to still create the safest, most secure partnership possible. One of the reasons that I love his work, one of the reasons I brought him on, is if you want to build a dream partnership, not a perfect partnership, not a fairy tale partnership, but a partnership where you are allies, where you keep each other safe, where you are, as you'll hear Stan say later, a whisperer to each other's nervous systems. That kind of partnership is what Dr. Tatkin teaches, and it is what we are going to share with you today so that you can either create this kind of partnership if you're out in the dating world, you can build this kind of partnership if you are very far from it, or you can upgrade the partnership you already have to be the kind of thing that you're like, wow, I did that on my deathbed. We're going to cover things like how to do genuine apologies, what trips most couples up, what to look for in dating, and what not to do in dating to be able to create this kind of healthy partnership. And he's going to give you all kinds of practical guidance and tools about how you can experience this level of safety in your romantic union. So welcome, Stan. I am so excited to have this conversation with you today. As I was just telling you, in our VITA coaching program, your book, Wired for Love, is required reading for our graduates. And part of that is because you have created this methodology, the psychobiological approach to couples therapy. Yeah.
Yes.
And you articulate in such a beautiful way how to have a securely attached relationship, which is another way of saying, how do you create safety, a really deep experience of safety in relationship? And for those of you listening, I'm really excited for you to hear us unpack this today. Not only what are the different attachment styles, and even deeper, if you've heard about them, how does it actually feel to be that attachment style? And what did it feel like even as a child to create that attachment style within you with your caregivers? And then we're going to talk through a lot of your principles of how to create this securely attached relationship, the heaven on earth, if you will, where you get to have a deep sense of safety and alliance with your beloved.
Well, first, there's a difference, and thank you for having me, Layla.
Yeah.
First, there's a difference between what's called secure attachment and what we're calling secure functioning. Secure functioning isn't the same as secure attachment. Secure functioning is basically a set of social contracts between people that are fair, just, mutually sensitive, and that partners are engaged in what we also are calling a two-person psychological system of we and us, kind of like a three-legged race. If I were to bind people's inner thighs together for about a month and not get sued, people would know exactly what I'm talking about. You too would not be able to move without agreement and permission, right? You couldn't do anything. You wouldn't survive. And that's really a two-person system. It's a team sport. So secure functioning, secure attachment is a research model that goes all the way back to the 50s, starting with Sir John Bowlby, who's no longer with us, and an American named Mary Ainsworth in Harvard, who studied infants 10 to 18 months and watched them interact with their primary caregivers, and then deemed them either secure, meaning that they had all their resources available to them because they felt safe and secure in their relationship, or insecure, either on the clinging side of that insecurity spectrum or on the distancing side. Yeah.
And what I love to do with people is walk them through that baby's experience. Because what I find is when someone's anxious, avoidant, or anxious generally, or just avoidant purely, it's like we can judge that person or judge ourselves. And one of the ways I found that people find compassion is to imagine being that baby. So it's like what Mary was watching was a baby that had at that time a mother, right? Because they were really studying mothers who
Yeah.
was regulated, who felt safe inside of her own body, and more than anything else, who was attuned to her baby. So
Yes.
as a baby, it's like your mom lets you go explore the world, but she's still watching you. She's still connected to you. She's looking out for your safety. And when you come back to her, there's this warmth and love and connection, but she's respecting your need for autonomy and exploration and sovereignty and growth and development. When you come back, she's this secure base of love and warmth. And this isn't to shame mothers because nobody's a perfect secure attachment figure all the time. But if that's generally what you got, you feel that first and foremost in yourself, that people love me and the people who take care of me are safe. I can rely on them. I can trust them. They're predictable most of the time. Nobody's 100% predictable all the time. And so when you go out into the world then to form relationships, it's very easy to let your partner be themselves within reason, right? Without freaking out, getting triggered, getting upset. It's easy to let your partner have space and distance, and then to welcome them back, to listen to their problems, their issues, and to build this healthy partnership together. Then you've got, right? So that's secure in some ways. And then you've got the anxious avoidant. And this is me. And when I first read your book, I was like, oh, I feel so seen and so horrified at the same time. And I had a beautiful, wonderful, loving mother. And she also had the most traumatizing childhood I have
Mhm.
ever heard of to this day. So, one of the things that I experienced, right, as a baby is that sometimes I would go to my mother and it would be warm and nurturing and loving. And sometimes I'd go to my mother and she was angry or she was, in her own process. My parents got divorced and my dad was cheating on my mom and he was horrible and sexually and physically abusive and all these things. And so as a baby, my mom was going through so much trauma herself that this anxious avoidant was, I want love and love feels like a safe refuge for me, but I also can't trust it because I might get abandoned. I might get dropped. I might go to a parent and all of a sudden they're no longer safe and loving and attuned. They're enraged or they're sad or they're violent. So that created in me this anxious feeling of, I want love so bad. I want connection so bad, but I'm also so terrified that it's going to change at any moment, that there's going to be aggression or non-attunement. And so one of the things that I developed was, I need you and I need you to be okay. And one of the things that anxious avoidant people do is like, we'll text a lot. We'll freak out if it feels like there's a rupture in connection because we need that connection to feel okay inside of ourselves. So I'd love to hear more in this from you of kind of how people end up being able to take care of themselves to not exhibit this so much, because I've done a lot of work to mediate that and heal so that that's not how I behave most of the time in relationship, because it's very tough to have that level of anxiety, that level of clinging, that level of, it's almost like my nervous system gets so overwhelmed by fear that I'm over attached to the person who is my primary romantic partner.
Oh, that's a lot of information there.
All right, we're going to pause for just a moment and I'm going to invite you to join my email list. You might be like, email, but honestly, email is where I share my deepest teachings, my most personal stories, and my most outrageously good content. It's also where you can stay connected to all of the podcasts that I release and my programs where you can train more deeply with me. So if you want to join, head over to laylamartin.com and sign up with your best email address.
First of all, you're describing the anxious ambivalent side,
Yeah.
the clinging side, not the distancing. So avoidant, no, is not you.
Yeah.
It's the other side, because you're talking about inconsistent parenting. They're not there. Come here, go away. I'm available, I'm not available, and I'm irritated, I'm annoyed with you. That is the very making of ambivalence and the need to cling or sensitivity to withdrawal or
Yeah.
abandonment, right? Now, both sides are afraid of abandonment. Only one of them is aware of it. But the distancing group, people who we call islands or avoidants, people who are anxiously avoidant, they have a false sense of independence. They confuse neglect for independence. They were expected to be more independent and separated sooner than they were actually developmentally ready for. And so they had to give up a secure base. They had to give up being dependent, right? And so they had a false sense of independence. They're actually quite needy underneath it all.
Layla here with a brief intermission because me and Dr. Tatkin didn't get to cover the avoidance style, and I wanted you to be able to understand it and to experience it, whether it's you or a partner that you're with or people in your family. So, an avoidant baby has the experience when it goes to its mother or caregiver that love is unsafe, either because the parent is overly controlling, invasive psychologically or physically, or numb, disconnected, dissociated. So, all of these parental behaviors can create an avoidant child. What that means at the core is when I go to mom, right, in these studies of the mothers, mom doesn't give me what I need. She either controls me, restricts me, or invades my space psychologically and spiritually, or she's so absent, checked out, and numb that I start to internalize that I can't be safe looking for love. And so I start to avoid connection altogether. So babies like this tend to not make eye contact with their caregivers. They tend to not even try to go back to their caregivers when they're out exploring because they learn that my attempts at love and connection are not met with what feels like safety or reciprocal love. And so, as you'll hear us talk about in just a moment, underneath all of this is a desire for love, right? Anxious, ambivalent people desire love, avoidant people desire love, but we've just experienced that it's so unsafe in attempting to love that we either start to avoid it or get overly attached to it. And so, one of the things I wanted to share before we go back to the conversation is that most psychologists and clinicians who are on the cutting edge of this work say that you can actually heal these patterns. Doesn't mean you get rid of them for life, but for me personally, I no longer feel controlled by my anxious ambivalent pattern because I learned to hold my pain that comes up, my fear of being abandoned, my fear that I won't be loved, and to love myself and to create that connection where I will never abandon myself, such that I can now withstand the pain and fear that can come up in romantic partnership and create secure love and attachment with my partner. Over time, that's actually changed my nervous system, and I feel so much less anxious than I ever used to be. I'll always go there a little bit when I'm under resourced or a little bit triggered, but I fundamentally feel far more secure because I've learned to relate to myself in a much healthier way. I've also seen avoidants do this, where they learn to relate to the pain of having not gotten what they wanted from love and in childhood, or feeling invaded, controlled, or not honored in their sovereignty. And when they love this pain inside of themselves, it opens up into their original desire to love. And even though it might feel like an anxious person has a lot of desire for love, an anxious person actually has a lot of desire for safety. And underneath that safety, I found, is the original impulse towards love. So I found both anxious and avoidant people can hold and love their pain such that they restore the original impulse to love, come home to themselves, and you can reparent yourself as a secure attachment figure and completely revolutionize the way that you relate. So I just want to drop this in here. And now back to our regular scheduled program talk. My biological father was sociopathic and
Here.
sexually abusive. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That adds another layer to it, because people who are abused, there's a trauma addition here. Now, we could say that attachment, insecure attachment, is a little like relational trauma, light. It's not a single episode. It's certainly not violence. It's certainly not beyond the pale of ordinary human experience. But it is sort of in the bones in terms of how I'm organized. So it's not a personality attachment. It's a memory of what happens when I depend on somebody.
Yeah.
And it's fluid. It can change through life. It can change through our relationships, or it can stay static depending on who we pick and whether we go to a therapist or whether we have a best friend that is more secure. So that's the truth about attachment. It's not the same as personality. It's adaptation to one's environment. As infants, we don't get a choice. We have to conform to the gods that made us. Those are our parents, right? The giants. And we see the adaptations when we study babies. We see it right away. People don't even know this. We can see these changes that are occurring in the infant right away. They get it. They get it. What we do in this family, what we never do, and they act accordingly. And so it's nature, basically. It's not pathology, and nature repeats itself. That's a fact. So we are what we've experienced, what we have seen, heard, witnessed, and felt. And that's as fancy as we get. When we're under stress, we will do the same things. Unless we have insight, and insight usually comes from suffering, right? Otherwise, nobody cares about where they come from unless they're suffering. And that then allows us to mitigate a lot of the stuff from repeating, but not all of it, because we're determined to a great extent by our upbringing, by centuries of genetics and experiences. Like you said, trauma inherited. Sometimes it's from large groups. I'm Jewish. My family in Russia apparently suffered several generations of murder and persecution. That affected me to some extent. When I started to think about that and started to study the multi-generational transmission genetically, epigenetics, that we are made up of all these people, right? We kind of think we're free, and we are to a large extent, but we're also determined. And that's why people should really learn about their histories.
Yeah, I've really come to respect
Yeah.
how deep ancestral trauma
Yeah.
can come down the line and impact someone, even if they didn't directly live that experience themselves. I've felt it energetically and somatically in people's bodies. It's very, very deep.
Well, human primates by nature are warlike, aggressive, moody, fickle, opportunistic, easily influenced by groups, and above all else, xenophobic. We otherize. We're racist. And so that's why we have social contracts. That's why we have agreements. Let's not kill each other. Let's not rob each other. What do you say? Oh, yeah, okay, that'd be nice. Now we can sleep at night. Oh, and by the way, you have technology that we could use, and we have some that you could use. Let's make money together. And so from the very beginning, we have pair bonded in herds, and we've gotten together in herds primarily for survival, primarily to protect each other from the environment, from predators. We still do it. to this day. We also get together based on likeness, right? We otherize. We find, as Yuval Harari says famously, anybody who is too familiar to ignore but too different to live with, we otherize. We make them not us, right? That could be our kid, our partner, neighbor, right? Anybody, because that's how we roll. The only thing that stops us are agreements,
Mm,
our social agreements, and social norms that keep us in our place, that keep us from doing terrible things and
mm,
keep us on the straight and narrow. That's secure functioning. That is agreement between two people who are the designers of this thing called a relationship. It doesn't exist in the physical world. It's made up. It's a shared mythology. And couples generally do not think this way. But if you were to start a band or a dance troupe or any community, you would have a shared purpose and a shared vision for people to come on board. Why are we doing this? What's in it for us? Are we going to win? Are we going to make money? Are we going to stay safe? Are we going to be successful? Why are we doing this? Couples don't do this. Couples come together based on wild fantasies and images and things they've learned in storybooks and on television. Uh, they don't really talk about what we're actually going to do and why we're doing this and where we're going. And because of that, these relationships are not very resilient, as others are that do take it seriously.
mm.
So that keeps us from doing bad things because um, devils we are, if we're caught at the right time, at the right conditions, under enough stress, we too can be very bad. And so I tell people to plan for their devils, not their angels.
Well, exactly, because I think most people, right? There's a tiny little percentage of people who are probably genuinely bad actors, but the vast
Oh,
majority
yeah.
of humanity would say, yes, I want to treat my beloved like an ally, right? I want our relationship to be a sacred sanctuary. But
Yeah.
then that animal nature, right? Or those signals of, if you're, in my opinion, right, if you're anxious, ambivalent, it's I'm not safe unless you're loving me. And if you're avoidant, it's love isn't safe, period. Right. And deep down inside, we're all craving love so
Yeah.
much. But those signals mean that I start to disrupt what I would love to have as a safe container. So, do you think that people can make these agreements if they
Yeah.
have the underlying disruption, or do they have to heal the underlying disruption to be able to fully stick to their agreements?
I think being attachment insecurity is simply an amplification of the human condition.
Mm,
People are just either more afraid of abandonment or they're more afraid of engulfment, right? Those are
mm,
two sides of the same coin of insecurity. I'm going to be with you, but now I feel when I start depending on you or you are depending on me, I lose my independence, my autonomy, my sovereignty. And now I distance, now I push away, right?
mm,
Now I lose interest in you magically. I don't know why. I think it's you, but eventually I find out, hopefully, that it's me. That I'm fear engulfment, intrusion, right, interference, or I fear withdrawal. I fear punishment. I fear that you're going to leave me. I'm not enough. That you don't love me. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Right? And so those are certainly irritating, annoying, difficult, threatening. But even if we take those away and we have somebody who's fully secure, if
mm,
there is such a thing, uh, that person is just not as affected by withdrawal or engulfment. Therefore, they're much more fluid and they're not as burdened by the anticipatory stress and threat of these two things, right? They're still difficult animals.
mm,
And I just want to make it clear to your audience that it doesn't matter whether you're anxious this or anxious that. People are difficult.
mm,
People are a pain in the ass.
mm,
People are all frustrating. There is no such thing as a low maintenance person up close for very long, right? There isn't. That's a fantasy. And we're all disappointing. So what? Now we have to find where we agree and where we're the same and get along and work collaboratively and cooperatively, or we don't work, period. That's the bottom line. It really doesn't matter. If you're joining up, you're going in the special forces and the military, you have to drink the Kool-Aid. You're not important. The person to your left and right are more important than you. They're going to save your life. It's a different way of thinking. It's based on interdependence, not codependence or dependency. Interdependence. You and I have the same things to lose, our lives. Therefore, we have each other's backs. Hey, that makes us fast friends. Same with cop car partners. They don't necessarily like each other when they first meet. They come from different backgrounds. What binds them is that they both have a shared purpose to stay alive, to keep each other alive. They become fast friends. They become closer sometimes than their partners in marriage because of that shared purpose and the shared vision, right? That binds people. Couples need that. Why are we together? What's the point of us, right? Why are we doing this? Terms and conditions, deal or no deal. Unfortunately, love is not enough. Feelings and emotions will not save the day in the long run. Only purpose does. Why are we doing this? Well, we're doing this because we want to make an agreement that will keep each other safe and secure at all times when we live in a world, a life that will never guarantee that. Nobody will, except you and I. Right? Let's say we do that. We'll protect each other in public and private at all times. We will have each other's backs at all times. We are vehemently protective of each other, not ourselves, each other, right? And I am going to commit to making you sure that you are happy in this relationship. And you're going to do the same with me. We can't guarantee happiness outside of the relationship, but we certainly can in the relationship. We can say, okay, we're going to carve this relationship, design it so we both win.
Let's take a little pause from the podcast, and I'm going to tell you about my signature one-year program. This is the VITA Sex, Love, and Relationship Coaching Certification, and it is for you if you have dreamed of giving your gifts as a sex, love, and or relationship coach with a holistic and spiritual lens. This program starts as a personal deep dive, allowing you to transform your own experience of sex, love, and relating. It then trains you in a profound methodology that allows you to become a confident and masterful coach, and it trains you in business skills so that you can effectively sell your coaching packages to high-end clients in a way that feels heart-centered and filled with soul. If you want to have a lifestyle that you are super excited about, create your own work hours, and have a meaningful impact in the world, go to laylamartin.com/VITA coaching. That's VITA, laylamartin.com/VITA coaching. Let everyone who's listening actually digest that for a moment. Like, I'm going to invite you, if you're driving, if you're cleaning right now, if you're working out, to just really feel what that kind of contract is for you. To feel that your romantic partner and you are allies, predominantly oriented towards keeping each other safe.
Yep.
Emotionally safe, physically safe, psychologically safe. I would even say spiritually safe for most of my audience in the world. And that part of that contract while you're in relationship together is to be each other's advocates, to protect one another, to support one another, and to create this container where it's actually you two against all the challenges and forces and upsets of the world, rather than, I think, what happens to a lot of couples, consciously or unconsciously, you become subtle enemies towards each other. Like it's your partner who's actually the problem versus it's your very secure unit that's there to move through the world. And so she's going to invite you to feel how that would feel to your body and your nervous system, whether that's a new proposal for you or what it would feel like to up-level your partnership or the person that you're looking for in the dating world, to up-level, to set the bar just a little bit higher of how much you could envision that, create that, commit to that with your partner.
It is a decision. It's a choice. Everything we do here is a choice, right? Let's choose to do this. Let's choose not to do that. All right. So say us both, and it's taken as seriously as a heart attack. Our lives depend on these principles. There are commandments. It's written in stone. It has to be that way because of our nature. Our nature is to do what we feel like when we feel like it. Our nature is to otherize. Our nature is to fight to the death if we feel threatened. This is the survival instinct writ large, and it's to be taken very seriously in this regard. We very easily go to war with each other,
Mm.
and so that's why we think ahead. That's why we plan for what could go wrong. That's why we put in guardrails to keep us from doing damage to each other. This is why we decide we're going to allow each other to govern each other by permission and agreement. Therefore, you can tell me what to do if we've already agreed, and I've got to do it. So the collaboration part is coming up with the guardrail, either stop it or do it, right? The cooperation part is when reminded, cued, prompted, the other person must cooperate immediately. That works. That works. We're both generals, right? We're both executives. We're both leaders. We're both the top dogs. Therefore, we have to work together as two different people, collaboratively and cooperatively, in order to get things done. We work on problems. We don't work on each other, right? And that's how my wife and I roll.
And that's amazing. I think that's so beautiful that you've built and you in that level of partnership. And you even talk about that in your book, being in your, I think you said 70s and having this like beautifully supportive, mutually safe partnership.
Yeah.
And one of the things,
We still irritate each other, by the way. We just don't fight anymore because we've already worked that out.
of course, I mean, I would be worried about a couple that never irritated each other. You'd be like, hello, hello, is this thing on? But what I am interested in inviting for people listening, right? If you're listening to this, where do you other your partner, right? For me, I actually have followed. It's like something starts to shift in my brain. There's a moment where I'm connected to my partner, I'm attuned to my partner, there's love, or even if he's doing something that irritates me, I'm still connected to him. I'm still remembering the bigger picture, right? We're in love. This is my partner. We're in a partnership, and he might be annoying the shit out of me right now, but overall, like we're good. And it's almost like this, I almost want to call it like a blinder comes in or something, where before I could see love in the bigger picture, something just, it's like a switch in my brain. And this is no longer my partner. This is no longer the deep love that we have. This is now my enemy. This is the person who didn't know how to take care of me when I was younger. This is the person who was supposed to love me but could abuse me, right? And so that switch, I've had to track that very, very, very carefully to be able to actually create a safe alliance, right? For me, I always knew that I should take good care of my partner, protect my partner, love my partner. Or if my partner says, cut it out, stop, ideally. And yet when that switch flips, it's very, very, very hard to
Yeah.
agree to the principles. So what do you tell your clients, or what would you tell people when they go into that flip, how to relate to their agreements?
By planning ahead.
Mm,
We have to prepare, just like going live. I call it going live.
mm,
When we go live, we're going to be under stress. And under stress, we're going to be more automatic and
mm,
memory based, reflexive. And if our heart rates go up to a certain level and our blood pressure goes up to a certain level, there's a neurobiological shift. And in that shift, I don't care about you. In
mm,
that shift, your interests are not my interests. In that shift, I see you as an adversary.
mm,
And therefore, you have to snap me out of it. You have to know exactly how to disconnect that wire that tells me you're a predator and mistakes you for a dangerous character.
mm,
That's skill and that's practice and that's also prevention. So a lot of this, just like if you were performers before going on stage or going out on the ice rink or whatever it is you're going to do, You would never do that without planning for going live. The nerves, excitement, scrutiny, all of those things. You'd have to rehearse for that and not just walk in as if you had never performed before. Same thing with couples.
Mm,
Only way to beat that system is to plan for it, predict it, plan for it, and then prepare. And you use each other to help each other through it.
mm,
Right? And you're also, both of you, you're also shaping this thing as you go. If people are unhappy with their relationship, I will simply say that's a design problem. And the two of you are the designers. I don't see anybody but the two of you. You are the architects. So change the design. That's really the way to think about it. And that's co-created by the couple that is making this system into what it should be, right? And it's a constant shaping.
mm,
That's why you want the big ticket items decided at the top. That's really important.
mm,
So, what are we going to place as the highest priority by which we make all decisions? Well, let's make it the couple, or this relationship that's greater than us. If we made it up, right? Uh, why would we put that first before our kids, before our selves, before our careers? Right? Why would we do that? Well, because if if everything and everyone depends on the two of us being happy and in good order and working well together, then it means that we have to take care of this relationship first. This relationship, the two of us come first, and then we serve others. Because if we're not okay, nobody else is, and nothing else is. That would be the way to think about it, right? And so there's a hierarchy. There's a way that we solve problems together. And first, us. We have to make sure that our good time is ensured, our safety and security is assured, and then we think about others.
mm,
Because if we're not okay, then we kind of suck to be around. So it's a way of thinking, it's a way of organizing, it's a way of structuring, and it starts with the very, very top. What is the top of the food chain? Is it the couple? Is it the kids? If it's the kids, that's fine. But then you have to think about, well, what happens if the couple sucks? Are the kids going to be okay?
mm.
Happy kids, happy parents, right? Happy parents, happy kids.
This is Sex Magic, and it's designed to basically make your body feel more glittery, more turned on. It's got all kinds of amazing herbs in it. It's sweetened with monk fruit. It's colored with beetroot. It's got this beautiful combination of saffron in it and shilajit and all kinds of activating things, dopaminergics that make your body feel more pleasure. It's really powerful. Oh, and huperzine A, which is a nootropic moss. That was like the thing we were the most proud of. We were like, we put so many herbs in it and it actually tastes good. Feel deeper arousal and heightened sensitivity in as little as 30 minutes. Try it now at shopmood.com. And let's give everyone just a moment to process that, to feel that. Like, what would it look like to put your relationship first? And I'd invite you to really consider, is there anything that you secretly put before your relationship? So I made this mistake in my late 20s, my early 30s. I put my career first.
Who doesn't do things like this? Okay, go on.
And it felt great at the time because I was so happy in my career. It was
Yeah.
so great. I was in a flow state. My partner, that grumpy ass partner, was the problem. And also in relationship, I had to feel all the things that were hard and challenging and humbling.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would I put my relationship first when I can make money, when I can be fabulous, when I can be in a flow state? But it was actually when I lost my beloved stepfather. I took care of him in late stage cancer hospice, and like holding him and feeling the preciousness of him and feeling the preciousness of his love with my mother. They had a beautiful 30-year marriage after she left my biological father. And it really reoriented things for me into, no, I'm going to put my partnership first.
Yeah.
And one of the things—
The other person has to do that too, by the way, otherwise it won't work.
Sorry. Yeah, the other partner has to do it too. Absolutely. And the thing that I also had to admit to myself when I really committed to that was, what do I secretly put first? And there was a way in my current partnership that I was secretly putting my own trauma and my own unworthiness first,
Mm.
right? So when you say you're committing to this way of treating each other, you're committing to this way of showing up for each other, you're committing to being this united front of safety with one another. I had to take a really good, humbling, hard look at myself and say, you know what? In our challenging moments, in our hardest, uh, like when we're about to fall off a cliff, right? That like really like hard second there, I actually am defaulting into my wounding pattern. And it's almost like a half second to 2 second decision window of do I care more about this relationship and our safety and our love. And I had to be so honest with myself that I actually had that little tiny moment there. Sometimes it's just a split second, sometimes it's 2 seconds, but I had a moment of choice and I wasn't choosing. I was saying I was putting my partnership first, but I was actually secretly putting my pain first. I was secretly putting my desire to play out sadness or unworthiness. And the moment that I was so honest with myself about that, I stopped doing that, I would say about 90% of the time. And it really started to resolve so much of the ruptures that were happening and so much of the challenges. And as you're saying, my partner had to bring that same level of commitment and dedication to me and to his own process. And he very much did. And, we have this amazing opportunity in that I have tremendous trauma in my childhood through my father very specifically, but also through my family generally. And my partner grew up in an active war zone for the first 7 years of his life with his family actively targeted. So we have
Mm.
very active amygdalas, right? That part of your brain that's like must protect self. And one of the beautiful things that you said is that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. That means that you have a biological adaptation to what was required for you to keep yourself safe when you were young. And so one of the things that I've learned to do when you say training, right? Like you're training yourself for this
Yeah.
is to become so attuned to that biological shift that starts happening inside of me. And I realize I can catch it. It's like a slight feeling that starts happening in my brain and a slight feeling that starts happening in my body. And so my version of training, right, for going live in my partnership was to recommit to putting my partnership first above my trauma and pain. That doesn't mean I can't be held in it, loved in it, understood in it, safe in it, but it means that I wasn't going to override my ability to create safety by capitulating to it, because that part of me does not care about anybody else's safety. That part of me doesn't even care about my own safety. That part is in pure survival mode. It thinks it's looking out for my safety, but it's not looking out for adult Layla's safety. It's doing what an infant had to do to survive. And so in tracking that, right, that's my way of preparing for going live for the big game, right? Is how much can I track that aspect of my biology and call and remember in the moment that my relationship comes first. And the reason I really wanted to articulate that is because I think people have so much shame. And if you're listening to this and you're like, gosh, I wish I could stick to my commitments to my partner, but I spin out, right? I just want to really articulate that there's this way where you can almost gamify it inside of yourself. And I consider it almost like, can I be a Jedi of my own biology such that I get better and better every time of actually choosing love, of actually choosing safety, of actually choosing my relationship. And in the course of my lifetime, choosing my relationship also becomes this path of choosing those values relationally. And so it's just really, I really want to articulate to those of you listening that it's not about being a failure, or it's not about like, my God, I've gotten this far in my life and I still freak out at my partner, I still yell. It's really, can you find a way that it becomes inspiring to you to get better and better at relating to that part of you that would rather destroy all the worlds and burn all the bridges, right? No matter how amazing our talk of the podcast is today, you're like, that sounds great, and you're an asshole the next time you talk to your partner.
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
Again, we're a little hard on ourselves here. Uh, you know, if that survival instinct is triggered in the least, and it's triggered by pattern recognition, right? There's an array of threat cues that I build based on memory. And if you keep hurting me, I'm going to build a larger array of threat cues. And I'm going to, through pattern recognition, I'm going to mistakenly recognize something you're doing that is threatening to me. And I'm going to shoot first and ask questions later.
Yeah.
That is, I'm compelled to do that.
Mm.
Therefore, we're in each other's care. It's this way. I like how you're talking. You're being self-aware and you're taking responsibility. And though that is necessary, absolutely, I have to be very good at you.
Mm.
So when you're in the grips of feeling threatened, it's my job to de-threaten you, to return you to safety immediately.
Mm.
Otherwise, I get nothing. Otherwise, I can't influence you.
Mm.
So I have to become, a Layla whisperer.
Mm.
I have to know the animal I picked and know how to handle you in the best way without using a stick or a whip. You have to do that with me. That's what works best. Because if we could do this ourselves, we would. We can't.
Mm.
All this is relational, and so I'm in a better position to return you to safety and security than you are to return yourself, and vice versa.
And this is one of your recommendations, right? I think you
It's
call
really
it a form
important.
of co-regulation, right? Of how a couple can really create this kind of safety and security. So how do you become a
Look, a good
whisper to
parent.
your partner? I can imagine people at home right now being like, I want a daddy Stan who knows exactly how to whisper to my nervous system and return me to safety every time I'm in distress. So if you're like, wow, I want my partner to be able to do that, but my partner has no idea. How does a partner learn how to become attuned that way,
Hey,
how to actually take care of their partner's nervous system?
well, first thing, couples don't think they should have to do it.
Yeah.
If you're a parent, you have to do that. It's noblesse oblige. The person in the know has the responsibility. Your baby can't tell you what they want. You have to intuit,
Mm.
right? And it's trial and error. And I have to learn you. If you were my pet, it sounds very pejorative, but I don't mean it that way. But if you were my pet and you kept biting me when I approach you on the left, who is the idiot? I am. I should know better, right? I should know who I'm dealing with. And we are animals. And yet we confuse each other because we talk. We're the only species that is hard to treat because we talk, we mislead. But he has to study you. You have to study him. You have to learn the animal that you picked, right? And how you're going to be master at that person, right? Just like you would a child, just like you would an animal. And that is what couples are not prepared to do. Couples tend to lull themselves into thinking they're family. And family, I shouldn't have to do that. I'm back in an asymmetric relationship, but you have to do it. I don't have to, right? You should know me. I don't have to really know you, right? And so it's our selfishness and self-centeredness that does the thing you've been talking about. Yeah, I'm really unhappy. I don't know why. Oh yeah, I just remembered it's you. Yeah. That's how we roll. And in a team that doesn't work, in a system where there's teams, it doesn't work. And so this is about a survival team, first and foremost. Together, we survive this life. We deal with the slings and arrows of life. The world doesn't care about us. The world is indifferent. If not indifferent, maybe even exploitive and opportunistic. So we create the safety and security we need. We do it by guaranteeing each other safety and security. And so it's a different way of thinking.
I'm excited to tell you about my 6-week self-pleasure training, Obliss. This is the first course I ever made, and it has been going for over 10 years now. Most of us are never taught the tools required to create deeply rooted self-love, which not only leaves us feeling disconnected from our bodies and ourselves, but what a lot of people don't know is that a foundation of self-love is crucial to building the deepest connections and experiencing the most ecstatic pleasure with others as well. My 6-week sexual masterclass for women, Obliss, trains you to have the ultimate orgasm and fall deeply in love with yourself and your body. You'll heal your sexuality, address old wounds, face things like fear, guilt, shame, and shutdown, and be able to heal and integrate them, and discover how to access the deepest, most profound self-love. So whether you're just dipping your toes into the magic of Tantra, or you are a seasoned sacred sexuality practitioner, you can use Obliss to expand your pleasure capacity and to access the most exquisite self-love. You can join Obliss today. You can get started right away at laylamartin.com/Obliss. That's OBLISS, O like orgasm, and then bliss, laylamartin.com/Obliss. And if I'm listening to this and I want to be more attuned to my partner and just take what's one practical step that as a partner, I can become better
Yeah.
at attending to and creating safety for my partner.
Well, one thing is the human invention of making amends. Falling on one's sword is really important. And if you didn't come from a family, parents that said, I'm sorry, sweetheart, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. If that doesn't sound familiar to you, you're going to have to learn it, because that is how we save our relationships. We're messy creatures. Even though we don't intend to, we're going to harm each other without intention, just automatically, right? Because we're who we are. And that's where I fall on my sword. So in this game, if you feel I did something to hurt you, I do not argue with that. I'm sorry I said that. I'm sorry I did that. I don't remember saying it, but it sounds like me. I'm not going to say things like, well, I didn't do that. I'm not going to say, well, I'm sorry you took it that way. All of those things make me feel good in the moment, but ruin the relationship. So I can be right or I can be in the relationship. Therefore, I fall on my sword fully. I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. That was stupid. I'm an idiot, right? No, I did this because, no, you don't understand why. I misunderstood, or that wasn't my intention. Nobody wants to hear that when they're hurt. All they want is to say they recognize they did something, right? That's the only thing that will calm another person down who feels harmed, misunderstood. Right.
So making a true apology. Yeah.
All of this stuff is hard, folks. I mean, everything I'm saying is really very simple, elegantly so. And we know this stuff. It's just hard to do because when I'm aroused, I may not want to just fall on my sword. I may want to say, but I wouldn't have if you didn't do this. So it's a higher level of social emotional intelligence, and it's a higher level of personal morality in terms of right and wrong, good or bad. We're placing the relationship first over the self. The self is invested in the relationship, so they're not separate, and therefore I yield to you because I care more about the relationship than being right. I want to keep the relationship. So people are going to make mistakes because like I said, we're who we are. That's not a problem. The problem is the lack of immediate repair. When we don't repair immediately, we're more likely to remember this in the long term. And that becomes more and more of a burden as we cascade towards increasing mutual threat. That's the problem. It's a memory problem. And it's also a biological problem of increasing our perception of threat. Your perception wins here.
So getting really good at apologizing. And this is something that people can practice. I grew up in a family that was very good with apologizing. My mom did teach me how to do that very well. And one of the things I've seen with people who have a hard time apologizing is that it feels subconsciously like weakness. And they're used to associating weakness with being attacked. So if you're someone that has a really hard time apologizing, I would really explore that feeling of vulnerability that a true apology gives you and be willing to ask your partner or let them know how they can show up for an apology in a way that helps you feel safe, right? And if
It
an
is.
apology feels so unsafe.
It is weakness if somebody is conflict avoidant. So
Mm,
if I'm just saying, "Oh, I'm sorry," but I keep doing the same thing. Yeah, I am appeasing you. I'm not really sorry. I'm not taking responsibility for it. But if I say, you know what, screw me, I did this and I did this, and even though you've told me before, I still did it, and that wasn't right, and you have every right to be angry with me. Doing that takes responsibility, but it also paves the way for you to do it in kind.
mm,
Because when I do something like this, first of all, my self esteem goes up because I did the hardest thing, the right thing when it was the hardest thing to do. You also recognize it as a very hard thing to do. That inspires you to do it right back.
mm.
Uh, and so this is the systemic way of looking at a two-person system. Everything I do is going to come back at me. If
Yeah.
I win at your cost, I'll pay for it. There's
Yeah.
no way I won't.
And I think that thinking exactly what you just said is so key to
Yeah.
feeling like you're playing a game you can win in your own relationship,
Yeah.
which is
And if the other
the
person's not willing to play, they're fired.
I did the hardest thing to do. I did the right thing to do when it was hard, right?
Yeah.
Like I did the best thing in the moment, the most loving thing in the moment, the most attuned thing in the moment, even when it was hard. That bit can create
Yeah.
a subtle shift in psychology where you're playing a game that you feel like you can win in relationships, that you are cheering yourself on in those
Yeah.
secret moments where no one else saw you, or it was just your partner and you chose to apologize, or you chose to show up for your partner's nervous system, or you chose to love yourself in a deeper way or set a boundary, whatever it was. I think changing our psychology so that we know how we can win to ourselves, how we can celebrate ourselves, it makes this game of relationship engaging and fun rather than like, oh God, I did it again, right? There's just so much shame in the way that people relate. So it's really beautiful to change the perspective into a way that you're like, yes, I'm getting better and better and better at this. So another thing that you teach couples to be able to help them have this secure experience with one another is the couple bubble. I love
Yeah.
this so much and it fits really into my energy kink. So can you share a little bit more about the couple bubble, about what it is, about how it impacts and benefits a couple?
The couple bubble is what I said. We come first. We protect each other in public and private. We're the most important people in this room and in every room. That sounds
Mhm.
narcissistic, but it's not intended to be that way. It's intended to be that we are in charge of everyone and everything
Mhm.
as leaders, right? And that's a responsibility that we place on ourselves, on each other. Therefore, we come first, and we can do that without harming anybody. We can do that without anybody even knowing this is our secret. This is what we do, and therefore, we predict, plan, and prepare before walking into any situation. Right? We don't walk in unprepared. We want to have the best time that we could possibly have, and we run down the list of what could possibly interfere with that first. Right? If it's a trip with the kids, if it's anything, we're going to visit our parents, we're going to do anything that could be stressful. We don't walk in unprepared, so that our good time is assured. Other people's mileage may vary, but our time is assured. This is where we're using the only thing that we can do as human primates that other species cannot do. We can predict the future based on past data,
Mm.
uh, right? And yet we don't. Right? We don't predict our kids. We don't predict our partners. We walk into the same situation without. We could have predicted it. We could have prevented it. Right? We don't do that. We also are the only species that can make shit up. Right? A corporation. We can make up a community. We can make up a relationship,
Mm.
and yet we don't take responsibility for creating it. Right?
Mm.
I'm speaking to couples here. And those two important things is how we can be happy in our lives.
Mm.
And yet we don't use those tools, except in other situations, like in business, we would do that, right? Um, and so let me just say what's challenging here about secure functioning. It's about growing up. And in order to be secure functioning, I have to be able to tolerate pain without acting it out. That's really important, right? All people are difficult, including ourselves. And so I think this is about being humble and understanding the human condition and working with it instead of trying to avoid it, instead of trying to ignore it or deny it, that we work with it and we outsmart our primitive selves, which, on a good day is nice. On a bad day, not so nice. And that's why we want to raise the bar, as you said, right? We want to raise the bar. We want a purpose-centered life based on what's good, best, or right. So say us both. And we set that purpose and we expect each other to do it even when we least want to. That's a good life, right?
So let's do a speed round if you're okay, as we're wrapping. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions and I'll get kind of a 1 or 2 second, just like the heart of your wisdom response. So the first one is, what do you see that the happiest long-term couples do?
They court. They stay. If they're girlfriend, boyfriend, and boyfriend, girlfriend and boyfriend, whatever. They're always courting. They recognize that they're always strangers. They're not family. That's an illusion. Family thinks they can get away with things. So we drop our formalities as soon as we automate each other, which is very, very early in the relationship. We think we know each other. We don't. So we're not curious anymore. We don't spend time being fully present and attentive in each other's eyes, fully there. We don't pepper each day with loving acts, with romantic acts, behaviors, with appreciation and admiration for the other. These are the things that allow us to get through a day, that we tether to each other, not ball and chain. We choose to be tethered. We're connected. That gives me, as you talked about with the baby going back to the mother for refueling emotional, it gives me energy for the day. It gives me more courage to deal with the dragons in the world, right? Because you're in my pocket. You're my ally.
So we're going to stay on our best behavior.
You and I are the constant. We're the time travelers.
Yeah.
Everyone's coming to our party. It's a way of thinking. And I got to tell people that it's not a luxury, actually. It is a necessity. Your lives do depend on this. You just are, we're all in denial that we're safe. We're not safe. We're never really safe. We know this on some level. But we don't create safety where we can. And that is, we agree to do these things because the alternative is not good. We agree to do these things because we can. We can choose. We can decide here and now we're going to do it with mistakes, and we apologize and we make it right. But people, the way you decide and build this thing, you build it for the long run. And for the long run means that if the relationship comes first, that's good for the long run because we're in each other's care. We serve each other. And everything we do has got to be good for me and you, or we don't do it until we figure it out. That ensures happiness, even though we go through changes as we move through time.
Great. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So next question. If I'm listening to this and I'm like lowering my voice because my partner doesn't like the sound of my voice and trying to take care of my partner's nervous system all the time and thinking of them as my dog that's going to bite me, so I'm going to avoid their left side, that's playing right into my codependent fawning behavior of just trying to please my partner all the time so I can always be loved. So
I better do it to you. So remember, it's in both directions. Codependency is in one direction.
Yeah. So what would you say to someone who's thinking that of like, this could play into my already codependent like behavior of trying to morph myself?
That's because insecures don't believe there's such a thing as fairness and justice because it never was in their family. They have to create it. So you have to create it to experience it, to know I've got to do this. And dude, you got to do it too, or you're out. I can quit. The other person can quit. If you can't quit this relationship, you have no power, you have no leverage. Therefore, you have to override the attachment system that is the I can't quit you biology. We think it's love. It's not. It's an existential issue, right? Breaking up with you is like dying. And so I'll do anything not to lose you. Well, that's not smart because that's how we get unhappy. Therefore, it's deal or no deal. I've got to do it. You've got to do it. We agreed. So do it. That gives me the same power you have to govern, right? Codependency is I'll do all these things in hopes that you'll do it back. But you don't. And then I'm a very angry person because of it, right? No, it's expected. Both of us do it. I'm going to do it. You're going to do it. We're both going to go through the inconvenience of doing the right thing.
Yeah. So the baseline is this can only work in a relationship that's built on fairness and justice. And if your relationship isn't reciprocal, then these same behaviors, it's like doing this won't get you a reciprocal, fair and just relationship. Standing for that is the only thing that will give you a reciprocal, fair and just relationship.
Folks, if one of you isn't into it, neither of you are going to win.
Yeah. Next question, you wrote Wired for Dating, and that's about how to look while you're dating for signals in people that you can make a secure relationship with them. So what do you think are the big mistakes that people make when they're dating, and what should they do instead? If you're listening and you're like, I want to make a secure relationship, how do I do that out in the dating world?
I think the biggest problem, the biggest mistake people make in modern times is they don't parade their new interest around their peeps, right? You have to tell your social network, look, when I bring this person around, I want you to tell me the truth. When I ask you, do you like how I am with this person? Do I seem like myself? Do you like this person? What do you think about them, right? You want them to vet your partner because your picker is not going to be correct. People complain they have a bad picker. Everyone does. Because nature is not concerned with your relationship. It's only concerned with, is this a person to mate with, to procreate with, because nature is only interested in the continuation of the species. So therefore, you cannot be the best judge in the beginning because you're on endogenous drugs that are getting in the way of your greater sense of right and wrong, good or bad. Therefore, you do what we've always done. Your social network is also choosing, is also picking.
Dating is like the ultimate cosmic joke. And if the universe is like, I'm going to get you high on the most intense drugs ever that completely knock out your rational faculties. And then I'm going to challenge you to make one of the most important decisions of your entire life.
Yeah. Don't trust your picker. Have your friends and family, men and women, boys and girls, young and old, because you want a real cross-section of opinions. And you rule out the ones that have an axe to grind. But that's the best way. That's how we've always done it, right? Because if they don't fit into our social structure, into our family culture, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be harder.
All right. My final question is, if you're available for it, I'd love to hear you celebrate something that your wife does that's a special way of taking care of you. Like if she is the Ston whisperer, what's something that you would celebrate her for in that?
Well, the love of my life, my hero, my best friend, Tracy, is away right now with her girlfriends. And she knows, as well as I do, I don't really take as good care of myself when she's not here. When she's here, she is the master regulator, I must say. I'm pretty good at co-regulation, and I'm very good at her. But I'd say she's a little better at this than I am. And that works out for both of us. She is an amazing person who has the greatest interests of people in mind. And she's much more of a doer than I am. I'm lazy. I'm a procrastinator. She is my other part, the part of me that doesn't function as well as she would say I am that for her as well. Our differences really are our superpower. But I would say that Tracy is as she's always been for me, my rock, my person, my go-to person.
Yay!
Yeah. And that wasn't just because of her. That was because of decisions I made, choices I made, and having to work with myself. Because the reason we commit to another person isn't because they're perfect. It's because we want to really understand ourselves by committing to one thing, right? That's why you do it. When you commit to one thing, you're giving other things up by definition for that one thing. And why would you do that? Because it opens up an aperture, a universe of possibilities. And understanding another person also helps you understand yourself with all the vicissitudes of a relationship as you move through time.
Yeah.
And so it was as much of my own decision and focus, and to stay steadily trained on that purpose that has led me here as well.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, I think often that when you choose anything, but especially when you choose your person, you're killing off all other timelines in the universe. And there's something romantic about that. There's something beautiful about that. There's also something to remind yourself about that every day. Like,
Yes.
you have chosen this one experience over all the others. So use that as fuel to treat your partner like gold, to do the right thing in the hardest moments, to build your couple bubble of safety and magnificence. Right? I don't think there's a single person who would be on their deathbed and say, I regret putting this much time and energy and love into my primary romantic partnership. I woke up and remembered how sacred my person is and how sacred my partnership is. And I acted in accordance with that. And it's the kind of thing that you're proud of on your deathbed. That's the kind of thing that makes all of the difference. So hopefully these give you listening some amazing tools, some amazing approaches, and some amazing things to really sit with in order to create this beautiful model of partnership in your own way, right? Taking in this what works for you so that you can really say, my relationship is the most important thing in my life. And I choose my partner in such a way that we create this secure alliance in the way that we operate in the world.
Secure functioning is very hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Again, it's pay to play. You get what you pay for. If it's not hard, is it worth it?
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this Tantric Life. I am Layla Martin. This is the home for the realest conversations about sex, spirituality, polarity, conscious relationships, and all kinds of topics that help us live the absolute most incredible lives. Please check out the next episode. Please go ahead and leave your rating and review on Spotify or Apple or YouTube. It's so helpful when you do that. If you want to stay connected to me, the most helpful supportive thing you can do is to head over to laylamartin.com, sign up with your email address. That connects you to me if you want to study deeper with me, if you want to receive my deeper teachings. I do it predominantly via email. Finally, you can check me out on Instagram at @the Layla Martin. And thank you so much for being here.